What's going on, everybody? My name is Gronk. I'm here with Wex and K Millie 132, also known as Kevin. And welcome to the first NDA podcast. Today we have a couple of topics that we want to go over before we get into the tier discussion and the first week of the new season. So let's just jump into it. Wex, what we got?
So first we have a mock draft that me and Kev have prepared. Justin has decided himself to not do one. Instead, he's just going to be providing analysis on it. And straight after that, we're going to be doing our own tier list for the restricted Pokemon for the upcoming season 4.
So basically, we're all part of a doubles draft league called the NDA. A lot of fun. This podcast, we're going to talk about that league a lot. We're going to go into potential game of the week matchups, talk about results and stuff like that. But today, just a little introduction, talk about potential tiers and stuff like that. So let's get into it, boys.
So first up, we have the mock draft. Okay, so there's 14 teams in the league currently. This isn't in any particular order for team-wise, but just what me and Kev think is going at what position. So we just did the first round just to be very kind of safe.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to predict past the first round because, we're not even going to get this, obviously, 100% correct. And then after the first round, depending on what people take, is what they're going to build around for their second pick. So we'd have to accurately predict each. It's too complicated, so we're just going to do the first 14.
And so kicking off with the number 1 pick, I have Zacian. Kev, what do you have?
I also have Zacian, and I think rightfully so. And we've been talking about potentially nerfing it because it's obviously very overpowered. It's the most used previously restricted mon in the format right now. But just in a draft league format, not being able to really Dynamax in front of it is kind of wild. So I think whoever gets the first pick should, if they don't take Zacian, the person who picks second will be very happy, is what I'm going to say.
Essentially, if you have the first pick and you don't pick up Zacian, you deserve to lose. You deserve 14th place because this thing, without any restrictions, is absolutely 100% broken. The Dynamax, the what's the move called? Behemoth Blade? Into a Dynamax mon. The typing in general, only being weak to fire and ground and not even being 4 times weak to anything. The ability to boost its attack and the ability to neutralizing gas and then switch out so you get the boost again. It's essentially a weakness policy.
I mean, that's very situational. Someone that drafts Zacian could definitely look to draft one of the Weezing forms. There's a bunch, in the draft format, there's so many things that could not counter it. That's not the right word. Work with it. The exact opposite of counter it.
Synergize.
Rain, and anything that just makes Zacian not play up. There's just so many things that make Zacian even more broken than just it being itself.
Yeah, so the restrictions we were looking into was either banning the move Behemoth Blade so that you actually have an ability to, max A and B, have a chance at winning. Just even if it's still small, just to have a chance to make it even. Because if we're doing it just based off of draft placement, I mean, if you get the first pick and you take Zacian, you're essentially guaranteed playoffs. So to try and, even out the playing field based off of that, I think is worthwhile to look into. Another thing that we're talking about was trying to get rid of the ability, or not the ability, but the attack boost. So taking off the items so that they don't get the attack boost was another thing we were talking about.
Yeah, that would be getting rid of Zacian, the Crown's sword. You'd only be able to use the version that is pure fairy type. Because the held item is what gives it its steel type and its signature move and that. So that was a potential idea, but I don't know.
I think it'd be more fair if you just banned the Behemoth Blade, the move. I think that'd be way more fair. Because if you're drafting it because of the typing, right? Because you don't get the poison immunity that you would if you don't have the item. So
Very true.
I mean, it gets
it's
decent coverage as well. Like it gets close combat. It gets like so much. It gets sword stance.
Does it get Sword Stance?
it
I'm
doesn't even
pretty
need
sure
it.
it gets sword stance. It doesn't need it, but I'm pretty sure it does.
God. That's not even fair.
But it's broken. Moving on anyway. 2, I think you have the same one again. I have Kyogre.
Yeah, we also agreed on this one. I do
Yeah.
think it will be Kyogre just because like it's a little better than Groudon, I think, because it gets something like Water Spout, 100% accurate spread move. Like if you the other great thing about Kyogre, I think, is that it functions as a Maxmon and also not a Maxmon. So you get very good flexibility with it. You don't have to play it one certain way. Like obviously what you see on ladder and stuff is Scarf, Water Spout, and like you run it with Thunder and all this stuff. But in the draft league format, depending on your matchup, you can use Kyogre a bunch of different ways, which is why I think is definitely going to be taken high. I mean, second, it could not go second, but I think it should go second.
I don't think it will. That's the one I do disagree with because of the
Justin,
new
Breaking Bad.
the new I think the new trend of having wide guard mons. So things like Talonflame, things like Mienshao, things like what's the bug water? Golisopod. These mons are gonna be definitely picked up with a lot of urgency. I feel so. Any mon that can get a wide guard, or this grass type, Serena with the grassy glide, or Rillaboom, things that have super effective moves into the Kyogre, I feel would pretty safely counter it. So I don't feel like it would go second. I think it definitely goes first round, but there's definitely a lot of plays that you can make to counter it. The problem with Zacian, which is why it makes it super broken, is there's not a lot of things that can counter it like effectively, right? Because you send in like a ground type, like if you send in Groudon, for example, you get Solar Blade and you're faster, so you just Solar Blade it and it's
which is
dead.
something you would never see unless it's draft league format.
Exactly, which makes it even more broken than it would be on the ladder. Ladder, there's ways where you can counter it, or like tournaments, like obviously it's going to be harder, but you're not going to see Solar Blade. That's not a common move. That's not something you're going to see. But in Draft League, absolutely 100%, you are going to see that if you have Groudon on your team and you're going against like a Zacian. Like, so that's why we want to look into some nerfs. But with Kyogre, I feel like second is too high, but doesn't need to be nerfed in any way.
All right, well, maybe you think our third. Well, I don't know what Wex you had for third, but my third was Xerneas. Is that something you think that could go second? Is that what you would put second?
The problem is if we actually are looking into banning the item Power Herb specifically on Xerneas because of the Geomancy threat.
I made this list thinking that with no restrictions. So
no restrictions, Xerneas
Xerneas
is definitely higher. No restrictions, Xerneas is going second.
It can only go first or second.
Yeah, it's definitely going second because there's no way no one wants to like miss the opportunity to use Geomancy Power Herb and then a Follow Me Mon like a Togetic or a Indeedee with the Psychic Terrains.
I beg that someone picks Indeedee before, but the problem is there's two forms of Indeedee. So this person that drafts Xerneas, they have a good shot of getting one of the forms of Indeedee on the way back, which, well, actually the male form doesn't get Follow Me, does it? I don't think it does. So you only need the female. I don't think male definitely doesn't. It runs like Trick Room and stuff like that. So I take that back. But if person that gets Xerneas, it's like a female Indeedee, my bad. That could be a problem. Could be a big problem.
It's gonna be a huge problem because what do you do? Like, how do you counter that? Normally.
I mean, see, like the thing with Xerneas is you need a redirection mon to set up the Power Herb Geomancy on turn 1 is really nice, and things like that have Rage Powder, you can counter that in Draft League format with Safety Goggles or a Grass type, obviously. But a Follow Me and DD that also prevents like priority, so you can't fake it out. Like you can't stop it from redirecting. Like, it's really good. And if someone does Xerneas and Ndidi, a person with Zacian has a chance of not winning the league if it's not restricted.
Low chance of not winning the league. Let's be real here. Whoever gets the first pick, they are going to win the league if they draft Zacian, and it doesn't have any sort of restrictions. If you don't win or at least get into the semis, you kind of fumbled the bag because you had an easy road essentially. So
I mean, what does Xerneas do against a 200 base power max move? It's physical.
it dies. It just dies. Like, it's painful. And then I'm sitting here knowing that I'm going to be on the wheel or at least close to it. So I'm not touching any of these mons. So that makes it even more painful. But
yeah. That talks about Xerneas. Wex, what did you have at 3?
My number 3, I had Yveltal. The main reason I had it here was because how much it benefits from maxing. Like, getting access to a stab airstream, just in my opinion anyway. I know, Kev, you've had experience with it before. I've fallen in love with it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, when I had to use it in the tournament, so we did like a little mini tournament in our league where we had to build a team of 6 and we couldn't change our moves or anything. So my best strategy with that was just using like raw Dynamax power from Yveltal and setting up like with weakness policy. But at the same time, Yveltal is so dangerous because it's another mon like Kyogre that you can effectively use without maxing. Because if you run Assault Vest, like it's a bulky boy, and you can run good like with Dark Aura and moves like Snarl and moves like Dark Pulse and Foul Play, Sucker Punch. Just you could run a full dark set with Yveltal and just cause problems because of the secondary effects and how much damage it's doing. And its physical attack is nothing to like. It's still so good along with its special attack. Yveltal is a very dangerous mon, and like you said, the max stab max airstrings with Oblivion Wing. Like if you're out of max, getting health back like that makes it even more hard to kill. As 4x super effective against it, so like it's not just gonna die to some other big threats. So I put Yveltal going high. I think he could do 3, obviously. He didn't have any that.
Yveltal going high, I can see, but my main concern is how do you counter this with normal mons? Like, outside of restricted, how many mons can actually put up a fight against this thing? And there's a good amount, so I can see it going high because of how strong it is, but I don't think it's broken. So there are a lot of counters. You just gotta make sure it's not paired with like Comfey, because then you got a problem. Because that weakness policy proc with the Draining Kiss with +3 priority is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to use. All right, we want to go to 4. Anyone have anything else to say on Yveltal?
No, I mean I think it's probably every restricted is probably the one that's gone up the most since Gen 7. But Gen 7 was okay, but I think this Gen's going to
Gen 7, like ladder and tournaments and stuff, you were allowed 2 restricteds. This is the first ever like rule set. Yeah, this is the first ever rule set where you're only allowed 1. So something like Yveltal by itself I think it's a lot better than it was paired with something. Just because you have to focus around.
My number 4 is Groudon. Basically, there's going to be so much sun in this format. Groudon is the best there, like undoubtedly. You can pair it with Charizard, you can pair it with Venusaur, you can even pair it with stuff like Cherim. As we saw in our tournament where Gummy decided that Cherim was the best option, and I mean, it worked. to a certain
It's-
extent.
The ability
Gummy-
is so broken.
Gummy
Not
decided to be
broken,
toxic,
Good
boost
synergy.
its
Very good.
special defense, and give it an assault vest.
Yeah.
Gummy chose violence. But anyway, I mean, in spoiler alert, I have Groudon at 5, not 4. But so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I can talk about it now as well. Like, I think like Kyogre, rain is a really good weather to have. It's like spamming moves in water, in rain rather, is so overpowered, and Groudon is the same thing. And it just gets even better with Dynamax. Like, it just doubling its health is just not fun for anyone to come up against. Like, obviously there's certain counters to it, but like at the same time, when Draft League, if you build that thing to be bulky in Sun doing big damage, it's hard to come up against. And if you build around it properly, it's not going to be fun. It's just not going to be fun. As we realized from playing in the tournament, it's just not fun to play against. I mean, Gummy in our tournament, who had Groudon, you both had to play him. So I don't know. I didn't really experience it. If you guys want to talk about what you did against it, like just how annoying it is.
No,
I
it's
lost to it. I just lost. Fly out.
go ahead.
That's all I have to say. I just got destroyed by him.
No, I won 2-1. It was definitely challenging, especially when my restricted that I had was Calyrex Ice. So I had a super effective move, but my speed tier wasn't great, and it was difficult to play around because I could easily get almost one shot. So it was something I had to,
Like,
maybe get
sure,
lucky with, but
you had Glacial Lance, but like Groudon had a Fire Punch in rain. I mean, in sun. Like, that's doing hella damage.
It definitely. I think I lived on like 1 HP. If I'm remembering correctly, I lived on like one of the games. I lived on like 1 HP. I was able to get off a Glacial Lance or a Trick Room or something like that, and then I was able to get off like 1 Glacial Lance, and that was able to do enough damage. So, I mean, it's definitely hard to play against, but it's not impossible. You just need to have, weather control and a form of, a priority rain dance from a Prankstermon, or someone like a Pelipper, or someone else that can, change it. Maybe like a Ninetales, a Alolan, to change it to,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just 3 other weathers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So there's options. There's options.
Ninetales
wouldn't be too
is a
bad.
great counter because you change I mean, if you lead them at the same time, obviously Groudon's slower, the sun will be up. But bringing Ninetales in the back and have like you lead a Mon that has Blizzard already, that's a great strategy to defeat that thing.
Or just assume like what he's gonna be bringing in, or like who he's gonna be hitting into, protect with that Mon, and switch him with Ninetales, and then honestly, you could literally just set up a Roar Veil with Ninetales, and then Blizzard with the other. So it's a good time. You have options. There's options.
What's your 4?
Policy. My 4 was Zamazenta. Now, I don't know if this will be controversial because the latter Zamazenta is not used at all because it's just because it's not Zacian is what my analysis is. Like, it's just not as broken, but I feel like in a draft league format, once again, you cannot max in front of it. Not at all. Like, a base 200 power steel move coming out your head, your Dynamax just isn't. You're just not gonna live unless you really resist. But then there's a Mon next to the Zamazenta that could also counter your Max Mon. So like, just not fun. And then on top of, it's a tank. It's very bulky. It's a defense boost when you send it in, so you can't really hit it from the physical side, and you just run like max special defense, and you just can't really kill this thing. It's got a base speed of like 137 or 127 or something like that, and its attack stat is still good. Like, it's not Zacian good, but it's still really good. It's not like Zacian. It gets a large amount of coverage moves, and it gets some tech moves like really fast coaching and stuff like that. So I think that Zacian in the draft league format, not Zacian, Zamazenta in the draft league format is just really broken, and it's like the next best thing to Zacian. It's because you get that 200 base power move against Dynamax mons, but at the same time, I think people will sleep on it a little bit. So I put it at 4 just because I think it's that good. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think about that.
Now, here's my thing. Hearing all of this stuff, it really makes me wonder if Tornadus is being slept on. If it should be seen as one of the counters to these mons. Because the priority, the prankster taunt, would be absolutely huge. It stops all the coaching, right?
Would do that. And then you could tailwind to make your mon faster than these things.
Exactly. So you have a lot of options, right? For taunt mons, you can get Rillaboom. You can get Thwacky. I'm pretty sure it gets taunt. You can get a whole bunch of other mons with taunt, like Liepard.
A lot of prankster mons get.
Yeah.
A lot of prankster mons get taunt.
Yeah. Whimsicott gets taunt as well.
Whimsicott and what's it called? Are good examples. Grimmsnarl.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like those should be prioritized in the second round, absolutely 100%. But I feel like Tornadus, that might be, and even Talonflame, just being faster in general, will be able to get off a very fast taunt. Freaking Gale Wings, Tailwind for priority. You get Wide Guard, you get taunt, and then you have access to either Flare Blitz or Dual Wing Beat, or U-turn if you wanted to. Just
so you're saying. You're saying these mons should go early to counter stuff like this?
Not early,
paired with the two.
No, well, I think it should be going Tornadus and Talonflame, and possibly even Whimsicott. If those aren't taken first round, you bet your ass they're getting taken early second, because if someone lets that slip down, they are absolutely sleeping. The wide guard cover, Talonflame especially, the wide guard coverage. The stab flare blitz. Oh man. Listen, if y'all let me get Talonflame, I will take him gladly. Gladly.
Yeah. Wide guard is such a huge move now with all the big spread move. Kyogre, Groudon, and both horses now have wide guard completely stops Calyrex Shadow because its signature move hits both spots, and you also run it with Banning Force in terrain, which is seen a lot, and that just wide guard stops both of them. So
yeah.
Speaking of wide guard, I'm going to move on to my 5th pick.
Get
wide guard, and that's Solgaleo. This thing gets so much coverage, and it's outrageous. First of all, stab 100 base power, Sun Seal Strike. That's it. It gets, as I said, wide guard to stop. Obviously, you're obviously Groudon comes in. Okay, press with blades. Okay, that thing's dead. No, wide guard, get fucked. What else does it? What else does it get? Max Lightning. It has Wild Charge. What else? It has Earthquake. Max Quake. It gets Max Darkness from Crunch. It gets Max Knuckle from Close Combat. It gets Max Flare from Flare Blitz. It gets Max Rockfall from Stone Edge. It gets so much, and I absolutely hate this thing. Honestly, it's my sleeper pick of the entire draft. I think this thing is going to go wild.
It's better Metagross, essentially. It's Metagross last draft was a top 5 pick, and now with restricted, Solgaleo is a thing. I think it can also set its own Trick Room, which is very valuable. I'm gonna look up.
It does get Trick Room. I know it does.
I'm gonna look up real quick what its base speed is. I don't think it's slow.
It's
97. So maybe you don't even want to run Trick Room. 97 is a pretty decent speed. You just pair it with a Tailwind mon, like we've talked about already, and that thing just clicks buttons.
It gets
sounds
so
right
much.
up my alley.
I would not be surprised if it gets it. Also has Bulldoze. So just in case something's on the other side of the field, weakness policy, God knows what else. Bulldoze casually. Guess what? Bulldoze Trick Room. Oh well. You can run a support Solgaleo. Now I don't know why you'd want to, because of how good offensively it is, but you can run support on this, a support version. And honestly, if someone does this, if Rooster gets this thing and does support fucking Solgaleo for 10 weeks, I'm quitting the league and never coming back.
No.
It's
I don't
definitely
think-
something that could happen. I don't think you run support that many weeks.
I
don't think
honestly,
it
I
falls-
don't think
understand
so.
the exaggeration, but yeah, Solgaleo is a different breed.
It definitely doesn't fall to Rooster because I'm imagining Rooster's probably picking around, the 9 to
Random,
12 range,
yeah.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So there's no way he's able to, pick up Solgaleo. There's no way 8 people skip it.
Yeah.
Someone's picking it up. Someone's using
Yeah.
it. This thing
If I'm
is
that high,
absolutely
if I'm that high, I'm picking it up. Like
if y'all let it drop to me, I'm picking it up too. I mean,
it's insane.
What do you
What's your
value
five?
more? Well, my 5 is Groudon, like I said, but back
Oh,
on
yeah,
Solgaleo, what do you value? Because I know Duskmane Necrozma is very similar. So, like, what do you
Mhm.
value more? Having like a clear body ability that you can't be like intimidated, or do you value Necrozma's ability? So same typing and everything, but your ability is that your super effective hits do less damage. So, like, what do you value more there?
With things like a clear counter to this thing is obviously Incineroar, which I can see going high as well. But
Well, it can't be
not
intimidated.
being intimidated by this thing. Like, this thing can't be intimidated. I know the other thing takes less damage, but at the end of the day, he's just gonna parting shot, intimidate. Right?
Yeah,
Take
you
it
can't
out.
partner
Like,
shot either.
oh well, actually, true enough.
Stats can't be lower.
No, I'm talking about Duskmane. Like, if you use that, like, give me like everything done to it. This thing, you can't do that. Plus, if he tries to do something like that for some reason, you have Max Quake. What's he going to do? Die. That's what he's going to do.
I just wanted to point this out. Zamazenta also gets wide guard. So.
Wide guard's gonna be huge this season, but
I honestly, I low-key wish we weren't talking about this because, like, people are gonna be watching this like from the league, and
yeah, we're giving people ideas. Stop it.
We're giving people ideas. Like,
I one draft them on with wide guard.
Wide guard is such a bad ability. Honestly, don't draft it.
Reggie also gets wide guard, just FYI. Reggie
Hey,
gets
Swiftly moving on.
my six. Go ahead, you talk.
My 6 was Yveltal, which we already talked about. Which I again I could see it. Like, I had Xerneas, Kyogre, Zamazenta, which I think is gonna be broken, and then I put Groudon over it. Like, I think all of those could like intermingle, but I ended up putting Yveltal at 6, which we already talked about. So, what was your 6?
My 6 is Zamazenta. Okay. So I mean, we literally just talked about it again.
Yeah.
I feel like there's that big bulk is going to be picked early. I did Xerneas later on, but I kind of made mine with thoughts of restrictions, so that's why mine's low enough down.
Yeah, which makes sense. Move on to 7. My 7th. This one might be a surprise to people that are maybe watching this that aren't in our league, but my 7 was Palkia. That is because we just finished a tournament, like I talked about, where the winner of the entire tournament had Palkia, and kind of showed how crazy Palkia's power is and how good its typing is. It's
insane.
He paired it with the Rain team, and in Rain, Palkia kind of just did really big things. Like, it beat a Zacian team, which we talk about how broken it is, but it did do that. I don't know.
It destroyed. Beat him.
Yeah.
He won. He was the first. Palkia's team was the first team to take a game off the Zacian, and then in the playoffs, it was the first team to beat him.
Yeah, which is just crazy. I think due to that, maybe I think my going with Palkia here is that maybe I don't think it deserves to go 7, but I also don't make that seem like I'm hating on it. I just think because of the tournament play, I think its rise in our league specifically is going to go up. I think someone might take it.
I feel like no matter what, if it falls to Will is going to take it.
Yeah, the guy that had it in the tournament, it's his favorite Pokemon. And if he has a top half pick, Palkia could just go early. I think someone else could be swayed by that. So that's why I think Palkia.
I think in a draft league format that's not tournament, I think it's fool's gold. I don't think you draft it first round. There's ways you can counter it. You get a mount with freeze dry, then that thing's getting absolutely one shot. So even if you put a
one
level,
shot if it's Dynamax, but it's doing a lot.
it's doing more than half, no matter who has it. So it's counterable, like for sure. And like I said, I think it's fool's gold if you take it first round. Now, if it falls to you second round, different story, right?
Like maybe later half you get a good mon that supports it, and then
Yeah, like you get like a Politoed or a Pelipper or something like that that's able to set up the range, so it makes it even more powerful. Then yes, that I would 100% believe that Palkia is worth it. But personally, for me, I'm not looking into it. I'm not concerned about it. I know there's a lot of counters. There's a lot.
These are fighting words.
No, there's a lot of
What's
counters. It did good in the draft league because not in the draft league. It did good in the tournament because you couldn't change your moves. But I guarantee you, if you could have changed your moves to like a freeze dry or something that's super effective, like a dragon move that wasn't on a lot because fairies are so prominent nowadays, then it's gonna be different. So that's my take.
I have the first unrestricted going at 7, and that is Incineroar. In my mind, it's the best one simply because Intimidate's broken. Fake out, parting shot, flare blitz, everything it gets, it's stupid.
There's a reason it's number 1 on usage.
Exactly, like it's. I don't think there's much else I can say about it other than like it's one of the mons that can hit Zacian. It takes off its attack boost. Pretty good. I know like you can put like all sorts of stuff around Zacian, like water mons or fairy mon. I know it gets fairy mons. It's a fairy mon as well. So
you
like,
take away its attack boost, but it still has base 170 attack, and it definitely learns like Earthquake or something that hits in a roar. So I mean, it does work, but at the same time, it gets fake out, which stops Zacian from attacking first turn.
Yeah.
So it is maybe the closest thing to somewhat of a counter. But,
yeah.
I have Incineroar in the first round. I will not lie, and I do have it as my first non-restricted going. I agree. The funny thing is, our previous season 3 of the NDA,
was Incineroar drafted?
Incineroar wasn't even drafted, which is wild. But
crime.
My reason, my thought process behind that is that because in draft format with no restricteds, Incineroar can, I guess, do its thing, but at the same time, you can build it. You can really prep for it because it's a one. It does what it does so freaking well. At the same time, you kind of know what it's going to do at the same time. If that makes sense to anyone other than me.
Yeah, there's not like you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to build offensive on it and I'm going to use it in max. It's like that's not something that
I think the only thing you can do to get something off guard.
That's kind of why I chose Arcanine over last season. Like when I made transactions midway through the season, I was like, yeah, I mean, Intimidate still. Plus, it can be like Arcanine can like Snarl, Helping Hand, Heat Wave, like be special or physical. I was like, yeah, I prefer that. I'll take that instead. My 8 is Palkia. We literally just talked about Palkia. Simply because I think recency bias is going to play a big part in it again. But it's definitely good.
My 8 is Solgaleo, which you had a little higher. I think. Yeah. I feel like that mon, as much as now that we've discussed that it's pretty broken, it could go higher. But I feel like when I was looking at it, I thought maybe that would fall a little bit. But no, it's definitely going to be insane in draft league format. 9, I had. This is my last restricted going in the first round. Obviously, there are still more restricteds that could be used very well in the draft league format. Like I don't even have one. I don't have in my top 14 picks is Calyrex Ice, which I think could be you build around properly. One could be very good, and I almost kind of regret not putting it in my top 14. But I kind of wanted to give love to mons that I think they're going to really go high because of their support. Anyway, my 9 is Dialga. I think these bulky steel types in the draft league format with the Dynamax, they're just going to be really good. And I feel like someone's definitely going to take it high. build around it because it's such a good mon to have.
I mean, I was thinking of drafting it myself. I'm honestly not sure anymore. But it was like one of my first thoughts. I was like, oh, okay, I want this. But now I'm like, I have a few other things in mind. It's definitely really good. I'm a bit biased because I have a shiny Dialga on Switch, so I have bias, but that's just me.
I've heard like on ladder that Dialga is the best counter to Zacian. I don't know how true that is. I haven't really experienced it myself, but I can definitely see why.
Yeah.
It's just a great Dynamax. Like with Dynamax, the Dialga's more broken than ever. And with changing your abilities and moves every week, like you're gonna know what it's gonna do, but at the same time, you're really just not gonna be able to.
It really mitigates the Behemoth Blade Dynamax special. Like it's
100%.
not going to take any damage from it. So it really, that is the one and only, restricted counter in my opinion for like that kind of stuff.
We did talk about Solgaleo and stuff. I feel like they can counter them as well, but
not as effectively as Dialga. For that reason, if it falls to me, I'm gonna take it. Just
you get a lot of mons that you said you're gonna take.
Well,
here's the thing: I need to be open minded because if I am not and I'm tunnel vision, I'm gonna lose my shit. Right? I can't be picky here. I just gotta have a deep first round. Okay, someone's gonna pick this up. 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 Like I need to have an extensive plan to cover everything because I'm getting sniped left, right, and center. Because I'm not gonna have a good draft spot. I'm gonna get screwed over. Someone's gonna put me.
I don't know why you think that. I don't know why you think that. It is.
I know that.
It's his luck. It's his luck. Be honest.
It's me. What do you mean? I missed a 95% air slash. Like, what do you want? What do you want?
I got knocked out because of that 95% miss.
Butterfly effect. If I don't miss the air slash, Will doesn't join the league, and we're at 12 people. Like, that's where we're at right now. But unfortunately, my luck is my luck, which isn't luck.
Speaking of things that you like drafting, I have unfortunately one of the pair that has ruined this league down to its core for the past 2 seasons, and that's Whimsicott. This thing.
Wait, going 9 or 10?
9.
Okay.
This thing is just so. If someone gets Whimsicott and Lapras again, I'm quitting again. There's lots of stuff that caused me to quit the league. This is going to be one of them.
That could be.
If I can, I will. Don't worry.
Now I know Lapras.
That could be a late round draft strategy. Like you take Whimsicott and Lapras in S tier, and then there's like a restricted mon in A tier that this is good while Dynamax. Like that'll still work in A tier for a draft league because it gets good coverage and it has good stats.
For those of you who don't know, Whimsicott and Lapras were drafted in season 1 and they won the league together, and then Justin drafted in season 2, click buttons, and won season 2. So no one.
I did more than click buttons, but that is the.
But that's the running joke. That's the running joke. The Blackwood button clickers over here. But realistically, like Prankster Tailwind is amazing. Like
Prankster, everything that Whimsicott gets is amazing.
Yeah, Whimsicott's really good. Come on,
most slept-on thing is fake tears, in my opinion. Yeah. With all the special restricted mons in this format, this fake tears is
so much. Yeah, you can do so much. Worry Seed might be really good play depending on the ability, especially because with Whimsicott it's Prankster. That's going to be something you really got to consider. It does so much. It can set up priority Sunny Day. I don't think it gets Rain Dance. If it did, that'd be absolutely broken. But
I don't think it does. But
I don't think so either.
My 10
it gets a lot.
My 10 is probably the most controversial one being down this low.
Before we move on, I just want to go back. What I forgot, another thing about Yveltal that is just clocked my mind now because we started talking about Prankster.
Yeah.
Yveltal can't be affected by any Prankster move, which is also really good. Like you can't lower a special defense to OHKO it. Like it's just not something that you can do. I think that's another reason why Yveltal is really good. But we can go our number 10 now.
My number 10.
I have Incineroar, which you already talked about. This is my first one that was going. It isn't a restrict. I think why I did this was I think the really good restricteds, like we talked about already, are gonna go. And I think 10 somewhere in there, people are gonna be like, all right, the really good restricteds are gone. I'm gonna take the best non-restricted. So I think Incineroar falls into that category at number 10.
I feel like that's basically gonna be the theme. Mine's a bit mixed up because some people are going to want to take him earlier than others, but as I said before, my 10 is probably the most controversial one being down the stone. That's Xerneas, because I put mine in together thinking that Power Herb was going to be banned, because if it's not, honestly, put it up at 2 or 3. It's not falling out with that.
Yeah, I talked about, my Xerneas is a 3 because I just didn't do it with restrictions. But if this could get changed, this whole list could get changed dramatically if certain mons are restricted for kind of just to make it fair and not toxic. I think is why we would want to do that.
At the end of the day, we all just kind of want to just mess around and have fun. Like if something's not fun, it's probably going to get changed.
Yeah, I know Justin already vocally verbalized, but I'm sure other people feel the same way. That if Zacian isn't restricted, that matchup that week just isn't going to be any fun.
You're running away with the league. That's plain and simple. I mean, do we really need to explain anymore? It's absolutely busted. If we don't put any restrictions on it, I swear. And if it wins, I'm just gonna be like, well, I told you. I told you it's gonna make semis at least.
I think we can move on to 11 then. I have 11. My next unrestricted mon is above Whimsicott, actually, is Tornadus. I think Tornadus is a big compliment, more than Whimsicott almost, to a lot of things. And it's being used a ton in the current format. Not only is it really fast already like Whimsicott, it does a lot more damage, has a lot more coverage than Whimsicott, but just the prankster tailwinds and taunts and other shenanigans, it's just really, really nice to have on your team. And things like Focus Sash and Resist Berries are really nice to have with it. Makes it stay alive a little longer. I think that Tornadus will have it's just going to be a huge support mon, especially in it's being used not in Draft League, and I think in Draft League as well. You can you prep for it because you know what it's going to do, but at the same time, it's one of those that does it so well that it's almost even if they sign up and you're ready for it, it could still help steamroll your team.
I have it later on the list. Originally I didn't because I just completely forgot about it. But I put it in my list now. But yeah, it's one of them ones I think is people are going to underestimate, and then coming up to their matchup against it, they're going to panic.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to take it last draft with my first overall pick.
Yeah, you got sniped.
I slightly got sniped, but I guess you can look at that as a good thing. We can all blame Gummy for sniping me, for having stack attack and winning the league with it. But I really wanted Tornadus just because I know how versatile it is. And one week, you're really prepping for Tailwind and Taunt, you could run Defiant and max it against things. It's just really versatile, good mon, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I like it a lot. It's definitely something I'm looking into, and I'm keeping my options.
So is it every other mon that you've said you're looking at?
Justin is drafting every mon in the first round.
Okay, I'm drafting low. I need to have a priority list of mons.
You're really drafting low.
I'm drafting 10 or lower. I guarantee you that's where I'm gonna be. Guaranteed.
He's getting 6 guaranteed. You're getting 6.
If I get 6, that's great. But if I'm gonna be drafting 10 or lower, and my feeling is I'm getting either 12 or 13. So
I mean, 10 or lower isn't even that bad. I think 9 and 10 are kind of one of the worst spots. 8 and 9, I feel are the worst spots to draft at. But anyway, my 11 is Rillaboom, Gmax or not. Currently having discussions about whether to allow both forms being drafted once or not. I'm not really sure at the moment, but I think that a lot of people are saying that they want if you draft one, you draft both. So just make it a bit different. But Rillaboom, it's like some of the only counters like Groudon or Kyogre. It's the only reason really I have it up this high. It's just good in general. It hits hard. Not like a banded grassy glide. Nothing wants to take it really. Pretty self-explanatory, I feel.
Yeah, I
I'll
agree.
talk about it a little bit because I had Rillaboom again last season at GMAX.
Yeah.
It's just this is another mod that you know what it wants to do, but at the same time, it's so versatile. At this, like the amount of different items I ran on it and different moves I like that are just better in certain matchups every week on Rillaboom is so nice to have, and the ability to change terrain and have the grassy glide. Like you said, banded wood hammer one shots Gmax Lapras. Like it's actually stupid. I don't think Kyogre or Groudon is living any banded grass hit. Like things like that just make Rillaboom so good. You can wear it with the salt vest. It's just so good. I didn't have it in my list, but I definitely agree that it definitely could go first round. We got two more spots. My 12 was actually Landorus. My 12 is Landorus. I think that even with the restricted, we saw last season that ground types are just so big. Like a lot of things are weak to ground. Ground is a huge typing, and then the cycle with U-turn and Intimidate, and just being able to be Scarfed or Life Orb and Dynamax. I think Landorus is still just such a big threat.
Again, stab airstream is a big thing again.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you're not Scarfed, like if you're Life Orb, you still get a big speed boost from max airstream. I think the best fly move. I think the best fly move gets is I think it's just fly, honestly. But land again, Intimidate is a big thing. I feel like it's gonna be massive this season with stuff like Zacian. On to mess with stuff. Samacenta probably as well. Incineroar, of course. Lots of stuff want to use Solgaleo. Oh no, it can't. But Duskmane and Necrozma can.
We've talked for a lot longer than we want to. We're gonna try and wrap this up a little quickly. Yeah. I'll go like just 13, 14.
My 12 is Dialga. We've already talked about Dialga.
Yeah, I already talked about Dialga. My 13 is Whimsicott. I already talked about it. It's just 13, such a good support mod.
Yeah. My 13 again, like we both chose support ones for this. Tornadus. Yeah, pretty standard. I think everyone.
I ended with Glastrier. Just I think now that it's a good non-restricted mod, and you build a Trick Room support around it. I think Glastrier could be really good in Draft League. It gets a lot of coverage, and I think it's going to be a very slept-on, overpowered Dynamax candidate on whoever team takes it. So I put Glastrier at 14.
And to match your Glastrier, I chose Spectrier as my 14th. Look, it's fast. It's not as good. Well, I can see this being drafted over to Calyrex form simply because the Calyrex form I don't see being drafted due to 2 4x weaknesses and being pretty easy to kill and prep. Like if you run knockoff and anything, it's dead. If you run Shadow Sneak, it's dead. Sucker Punch, dead. I had Calyrex for the tournament, Calyrex Shadow, and I really enjoyed it. I had Indeedee, I loved Flying Officer's Expanding Force, and Expanding Force and Astral Barrage. It was really good. I used Nasty Plot in one game. I loved it. Like, it was really fun. But in Draft League, people are going to have prep for it, and they're just going to destroy you. I don't see it being drafted. So that I chose Spec because, I mean, it doesn't have much weaknesses, really. I think the strongest move it gets is Shadow Ball, but the ability alone is kind of like, okay, it's probably faster, and if it kills you, it gets an attack boost. So you just infinitely die at that rate. Like, it's extreme. I know the coverage isn't brilliant, but when you're that fast and that good, you don't really need coverage. It's kind of like the same thing that Eliki falls into.
It's the same thing with what I was saying about wide guard. Like, then you're forced to use Shadow Ball, and that's not for most mons. You're not going to be able to OHKO with just a pure Shadow Ball, and you're not going to be able to get the Grim Neigh, I believe, for the special attack boost. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be very difficult to actually use it properly.
And Spec doesn't get Astral Barrage. Astral Barrage is only for the Calyrex form. so it doesn't really
So
get into that.
the Spectre, you have to just run Shadow Ball.
Yeah, I think I don't know what last year's best move is. I think it's probably like Icicle Crash or something like that.
Yeah, you run Icicle Crash, you run Heavy Slam for the max Steel Plate. It gets close combat, it gets a dark move, it also gets what was the last one I was thinking of? It gets high horsepower, so you can boost both your defenses, which is really nice. And then the ice move is stab, and it breaks focus ashes and stuff like that. It's really cool. I think I don't know. Justin, what do you think will go? Glastrier or Spectrier? If one of them are going to go in the first round, which one you got going?
I think Spectre just because of the speed. But like I said, the spread moves you can't use it, and you got to make sure you're using it right. So it really is only effective against teams without a mono wide guard. But
I don't think it gets any spread moves. You're thinking of?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Spectre?
Yeah, it just runs Shadow Ball.
Rush.
It really just runs Shadow Ball. Like you get Mud Shot and you get maybe one other special move. Like it doesn't get great coverage, to be honest.
Oh well, yeah. So I was.
I think you were thinking Calyrex.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of Calyrex. What Shadow? Whatever.
Hmm.
I definitely see it being drafted. I think if it's not a late first round, it's an early to mid second round pick.
Yeah, I mean these S tier types, the S tier mons are hard to predict because most people will have an S tier restricted as well. So like that only limits one other S tier mon that isn't restricted. So it's going to be really cool to see what does go and look at all the really good mons that are just not drafted. But I think we can call it there, guys. I mean, that was a pretty good talk. I think we covered all of what we think is going to be really good and really good in Draft League. I don't know next time when you'll hear from us, but definitely expect a draft analysis video in the future.
I feel like depending on when we decide the tier list, next episode we might be doing a restricted tier list. We plan on doing for this one, but we ran out of time. If not, well, we'll think of something else, like you said, probably draft analysis maybe.
Yeah.
But please be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, comment what you want to see next, and I think that's all we have for this week. We will see you next week, and goodbye.
Peace out, guys. Thanks for watching.